What's going on, boys and girls? Welcome to the UFC bet breakdown for Luis Rodriguez versus Denis Bondar at UFC Mexico City. It's a prelim bout. Mexico's Luis Rodriguez gets a second crack at the UFC, while Denis Bondar looks to bounce back following two defeats. We have two fighters at opposite ends of the age spectrum, opposite ends of the position they're at in their UFC run. Let's break down the near pick'em fight and try to pick out the best bet for you guys today.
Oh, Till's out! It's over! It's over! It's over! That's what I'm saying, boy! Oh! He got dropped! It's over! It's over! Munoz! Oh my God!
The Mexico representative, Luis Rodriguez, is an in-your-face competitor who fights with a ton of spirit, and it often feels like he's fighting angry. He had an opportunity at the UFC back in 2020, and this makes you look a little bit down on the performer, but after knocking out 3 straight opponents, he suffered a tough setback against Jerome Rivera, who has now gone winless in the UFC, but I do want to make it clear that he has made leaps and bounds in his UFC training. He's taken in a lot from training at different places. He's trained at Extreme Couture. He trains with some of the best boxers to get them ready for their fights, such as Devin Haney, and I really do like Luis Rodriguez. He took on an 11-11 Angel Rodriguez in his last fight, and Luis was pressuring but was also very patient, awaiting counters, and without the action, it felt extremely too patient at some times. But Luis Rodriguez started to pour on pressure and a wildness in the second and third round, where you could see glimpses of his potential. I really think he has some potential to crack the top 15 in the UFC if he continues to develop at this young age. Cardio, like most flyweights, is crazy for Luis Rodriguez. He took a lot of shots, continued to bite down in the mouthpiece and move forward, and Rodriguez, a really tough journeyman. The big question, though, if he was outstruck in a round by a non-UFC level opponent, can he be outstruck by UFC level opponents? But still, Luis Rodriguez secured a finish in the third round, and again, looking very good when it came to aggression, when it came to moving forward, when he needed to, stopping takedowns, getting his own takedowns, and he's always active. His second professional loss, I want to take it a little bit back to his Dana White Contender Series performance. Again, this was in 2020, and Luis Rodriguez is only 24 years of age. So this is coming into a pretty young Luis Rodriguez, and Jerome, now having been in the UFC, he's been TKO'd twice, he's been subbed and conceded a decision, all in an 0-4 run. And Rivera showcased a little bit of the grappling in the fight, but again, Rivera showed a really keen ability to get back to his feet or to threaten from bottom when needed, which I think it's going to be a big spot in this fight. He's going to need to do that against Denis Bondar, who in all of his fights shoots some takedowns, and he's willing to control from top. And again, you got to look at those 13 submissions and really think that Bondar, in the ideal scenario, will try to get a takedown and a submission. But nonetheless, Rodriguez, I felt, was a better fighter, but did suffer from that last fight tendency to be a little bit too patient. And according to UFC stats, he was outstruck 48-19. But again, in my opinion, Rodriguez the whole time felt like the better fighter. And he's continued to develop, now entering the UFC again off another 5-fight win streak, and he's done it in more impressive organizations. Going into that Contender Series bout, you could really look at his opponents and go, this is a tough resume to look at, a lot of cans here. But now, coming off the Contender Series, when he went back to Mexico, they knew that they had a name on their hands, and they were able to get him some tough opponents. He had a split decision. A lot of his opponents still prospects around 5-0, around that area, but again, tough prospects for a regional fighter. And now that he's in the UFC, he's going to have a little bit more of a resume. He's been tested a little bit more. And again, 24 years old, trains with some of the best guys, Devin Haney. He is going to be a serious threat in this fight. And again, another big advantage for Luis Rodriguez. He's had a regional mixed martial arts career in Mexico. He's fought in Mexico City. He should be very used to elevation. I think that's going to play a big part in a lot of the fights this weekend. Again, a lot of stops, training in different places. Extreme Couture is a big one to help his wrestling, to help his intensity. His cardio should still improve, which is remarkable for a guy that has ridiculous cardio already. And then again, he has great boxing. So if he can keep this fight stand up and he avoids being lazy, like his nickname would say, he's going to have a really good chance at the win. On the other hand, Denis Bondar might be on the UFC proverbial fence. He's 0-2 in his first 2 UFC bouts. He does have an impressive 13 wins via submission regionally. He's a former PFU bantamweight champion, a WWFC flyweight champion, and a great grappler. Bondar's last fight against Carlos Hernandez was a striking fight, and Hernandez showed the ability that when he was taken down by Bondar, who was successful on his takedown attempts, Bondar couldn't put really anything together with Hernandez trying to get back to his feet. And a lot of the times at flyweights, these guys do a great job getting back to their feet. If this was at middleweight, like heavyweight, that Bondar grappling would make itself more prevalent, in my opinion, and may sway me more to the Bondar side. But again, at flyweight, they know how to get up, they're active, they're quick, and the cardio is not much of an issue for these guys. So I don't see a lot of times where Bondar is going to be able to lay. Maybe secures a submission, but for Luis Rodriguez, never being finished by submission, never being finished by knockout or technical knockout, I don't think he's going to get laid and preyed on. We will see if that may be the case. I might be proven wrong. Bondar also did suffer an extremely scary knockout at the end of the Carlos Hernandez fight. If you're one of the people in the mindset that knockouts will continue to have an impact on fighters later on, that might have an impact, because this, again, he was knocked out by head-to-head clash, and then Hernandez landed at least 6 brutal elbows that are going to have an issue. Final prediction, I recommend siding with youth and hometown advantage of a slight underdog Luis Rodriguez. Rodriguez's style leans towards securing a decision victory in this spot, in my opinion, showcasing a blend of his impressive wrestling skills and a background in boxing and aggressiveness, and the hometown push from these Mexico City fans supporting their own. I think that he's going to feed into that as well. I think that's a great spot here for him. Despite his youth, he has demonstrated a knack for absorbing information rapidly, and he can take damage, indicating potential again for future growth at such a young age. His aggression, coupled with a fiery energy of fighting in his hometown, adds another layer of confidence for my performance, for my bet, and to see a great Luis Rodriguez performance. At odds of -102 on FanDuel, I'm investing 1 unit in Rodriguez for sure. It seems like a real promising choice for me. And the hope is that we avoid the risk here, because it is Rodriguez patient at some times. If this does remain a stand-up fight and Bondar does throw in a takedown or two, again, I don't think he's going to land much damage with the takedowns, but if he lands a takedown or two and Rodriguez remains too patient, it's going to have a bad impact on him getting a decision. But again, he's in Mexico City. He's getting his second opportunity at the UFC. -102 is a great value for Luis Rodriguez. So lock me in there, and I will see you in the next video. Peace.